This will be a short tutorial on creating block files in Merlin LS. And what a block file is, it gives you the ability to combine multiple vector objects such as shapes and OS fonts and text into a single object. Unfortunately, you can't use bitmaps, bitmap font, 2D codes, things like this. They have to be simple line vector objects. And again, I want to point out that when you're working in this area, you'll see it says list. When you're working in the visual area, it will say visual. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out and I'm going to select an OS font, which is a vector object. Because I'm in visual, I can just draw a rectangle out here and put some text in there. In this case, I'm going to put KJL. And I want to make sure this is centered in the window here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this file and set the justification to center center. Select the center of the window, which is 0, 0. And now it's in the center. I want to draw a rectangle around this, a box. And I'm just going to go right on the handles of the text tool, so it'll be surrounding it. So I have a box, and so now I'd like to put an ellipse or oval around the outside of this. So I will go and select that tool, and I will just draw the ellipse and put that down in the middle. Now what I can do with any of these objects, as long as you are in visual mode, you have something in the edit menu that's called center and window, and we'll center that up. Now I can just take the drag handles and drag this out until it matches up the way I want it. And you see it's not quite perfect, and that's because this is a little below the line, this is a little above. If I open this up, you'll see that it's at a slight angle. So I'm just going to switch it to 0, and it will square it up, and now you see it just touches there perfectly. So here I've created my logo, and I'd like to save this so I don't have to recreate it every time. So what I want to do is I want to select all of these objects. Now I can either drag a box around them here, or I can select them in list mode, but as long as I have all of them, I'm good. Making sure I'm in visual mode, I'll go down here to block and assemble. Now the pointer becomes where the anchor of the block is going to be. So I'm going to put it right here in the middle. Click once, and it's going to ask me to give this a name. I'm going to name it this. I've done this a couple times, so I already have this, but yes, that's what I want to name it. I no longer need these tools, so I'll say yes, take them out. Now if I go to my block tool, I can go to that particular block, and I only have to click once, and it's there. Also, because it's one object, it can be resized as one object. I'll show you that in a minute. You only have to set one vector setting, and everything in the block will be affected by this. And if you want to fill it, you can do that. Now this doesn't always fill everything in there. In this case, I wanted to show you it will show fill these letters. And like I said, you can drag the handle to make it smaller. You can reposition it where you want it. And it's one object. So what I'm going to do here, now that I have it, I'm going to go up here and save this file. And I'm going to save it as KJL. Yes. Now, if I take this off of here, I just want to show you this. If I pull up the block file again, you'll see that this is not filled. This is because the fill is part of the pattern and not part of the block. If I go up here and open KJL, so I don't want to save those, you'll see that now I have my filled object. And that is how you do that. The one other thing I did want to show you is that suppose at a later date you say, well, I need to have something besides KJL in there, or maybe you want to change the shape of the oval. If you go here, again, you need to be in visual mode. If you see, these things are not available here when you're in list mode. So I go into visual and go to block and do disassemble. And now I have my individual objects back, and I can modify these if I so desire. Like say, oh, I'd like the oval to be a little bit longer, whatever. And then you can just select all the objects again and go back to no, got to be in visual. You got to go back to block, assemble, and repeat that, and you can get your new modified block just like that. And again, it's not filled because the fill is part of the pattern. And that's all there is to block files. We'll be doing other videos on this topic a little bit later on, but for now, that's how you create a block file.